So now that we have a nice global overview of what happened within our match, we're going to start to have a look at some of the more detailed aspects of that game by creating a shooting analysis in this week's Power BI for Sport tutorial. So let's get started. As always, if you're finding my videos for the first time, make sure you hit like and subscribe below, but also hit that notification bell icon so you are notified of future videos. So this week, as I said, we're going to start by creating a little bit more of an in-depth analysis of the game, and we're going to start by doing a shooting analysis. I've already duplicated the page, so I've got a blank canvas here to work with. But before we get started, we're going to just orientate ourselves a little bit with our data and make sure we understand it fully. One of the first things we need to do once we're starting to look at the coordinates of our game is understand the orientation of the pitch provided by StatsBomb. So to do that, I have got an image of their pitch and the coordinates that they use. So this is in a tutorial I wrote a while back over on futbolanalyzer.com. And what you'll find is that our pitch coordinates show 0, 0 in the top left and 1, 20, 80 in our bottom right. So what that means first is that our y-axis here is flipped or inverted. So this means that our data that we have using in our reports, we're going to need to flip our y-axis to get it accurate. But then secondly, we can see that our x-axis is normal. So we have two options here. If we go back to our Power BI report, if we're using basic scatter chart functionality, when we're in our formatting options for the y-axis, you have the ability to invert the axis. But if we're not using our built-in visuals, we will need to maybe apply some extra formatting to get our y-axis flipped. So you've got a couple of options, and the first one would be as simple as creating a new column and performing the flip there. So if I go and do a location.y underscore flipped equals 80 minus location.y, that'll flip our axis. And we would want to do that for two values, and the second one would be our shot in location. So if we do this as well, let's go shot in location Y. I'm going to just copy the middle bit here, and we're going to go again 80 minus, and then I'll just name my column. That'll give us our values. So those are there if we want to use them in a minute. The second thing we want to see is we want to have a look at our shot outcome names. So we have these in a column within our data set. If we just drag them on the canvas, it'll add them into a table with all the distinct or unique values. These values, as you can see, we've got blocked, goal, blank, so anything that's not a shot, off target, saved, and wayward. So this is just easy to help us to create or color our visual. So one of the things we can do, and this is what I'm going to use in this in this reporting, is I'm going to use an R visual rather than the built-in data visuals that they have. So let's create our R visual, and if you're using this for the first time in the report, you will need to enable script visuals. So just hit enable, and this will bring up this editor pane here. So the first thing you're going to need to do is add all the data fields that you want to be shown or used within your data set. So I'm going to add ID, I'm going to add location X, I'm going to add my location Y flipped, and just for good measure I'll add location Y as well, and then we're going to add our shot in locations. So we want to see shot in location X. I'll use the normal one, and then we'll also use our flipped version. And then the last thing I'm going to add here is our outcome name. So this will help you this will define the data that's used within the visual. One of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my filter, and in our shot outcome name, what we're going to do is we're going to filter out anything that's called NA. So we'll do that first. That'll lower the number of events shown in your data set or on your visual dramatically. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some script here for R. I have already created a shot visual in one of my previous videos, which I will link up in the top right hand corner. And so I've got that code just sitting to the side here. Before I paste it in, I'll show you and walk you through a little bit what I have. And so first of all, we've got to load our libraries, and then we're going to create our visual. So here we're just going to use ggplot and the data set defined at the top here. And then we're just going to add our values down here. So here, this annotate pitch is to create our GG soccer pitch and to make sure that we're using the stats bomb dimensions. And then I'm going to add the points for where the shots were taken. And then I am also going to add some segments so that we can see where the shots ended. And I'm going to theme it properly, make sure we remove our legend, and then flip our coordinates so we can see our values. Then the last thing I'm doing is I'm actually manually coloring the values to allow us to be able to distinctly see which ones are which. So let's just copy this over. And we're just going to add this into our code here. And then all we'll do is we'll hit play. And we'll see we've got an error, so we'll just have a look there. Oh, and it's just because the values that we have are slightly different. So we have got to just change this location Y to be flipped. And then the same here, flipped. And then the last one here, flipped. And then that should be okay. So let's hit play again. Here we go. So here is our shot visual already. So what I'm going to do is I'll just remove the title from this, and I'll remove our background. But as you can see here, we can see all the shots that were taken and where they ended up. So as we can see here, we do have a couple of shots that have gone wayward quite dramatically, but then we've got a couple that are on target and so on. So as we can see here, this will be the Arsenal shots only, and this green dot, this will be our goal. So we can see here it's gone into the bottom right hand corner. The rest of them, we can see our shots on target and the ones that were saved. These pinky ones will be our blocked shots. So there we have quite an easy way. If we wanted to view these, we can probably filter this a little bit. So there's our blocked shots. There is our goal. Here are the ones that are considered off target, so they might have gone over the goal or to one side. We have our saved shots here, and then our last thing is our wayward shot, which was quite wayward. So if we just delete that for now, there we have our visual, and so we can see, okay, how many shots were taken by Arsenal here, and where did they end up. So we can have that to one side there if we like. If we copy this, we will obviously see the exact same visual, but what this can allow us to do is then go into our selection, because we do have filters in the background here. And we have our team selection, and what we can do is edit interactions. We can always have one be our home and one be our away. So let's remove the interaction here, and we will see far more goals appear, or shots appear. And then we're going to go into our data set, and we are going to filter each of these visuals using another column, and we're going to call it this home and away column. I'm just going to go basic, and home will be our number 1 from memory, and there you go, we see that. And then if we go to the other side as well, away will be our number 2. And there are our away shots. This color here is very similar to our goal, but is not a goal, so we're accurate there. So we can see two of our Arsenal shots and our Man City shots. The next thing we might want to do is we might want to kind of see sort of the XG created by those shots and by each team. So this could be very simple in terms of adding a card, adding the value, and so that will come under shots.statspom_xg and making sure it's summed. So if we just add that to the top here, again, we can copy and paste this to the other side. And then the big thing, again, what we need to do is we will go back to our view and our team selection and make sure we're not filtering these to our selected team. I'm just going to hide this one now. And we'll go back to our home and away and make sure we are showing one as home and away. So, oops, not on there, on here, home and away. So this needs to be 1. Oops, double clicked it. And this needs to be away. There we go. So that's very simple there. What you can then do is maybe break down by outcomes. So you have a couple of options where you could show them in separate cards, or you could just create a little table. So let's just do that. What we'll do, I don't want that. Let's just create a little matrix here. And what we'll do is we'll add our shot outcome names as the rows. And what we'll do again is we're going to filter this so that our NAs do not appear here. And we'll just add this down here slightly. And then what we want to do is we want to count by the shot outcome name or ID. So what we'll do is we will create a new measure here. And all we're going to do is, this is going to be really simple. We'll just go shot. We'll call this shot values, but in reality, this could be used for anything. We'll go shot values, count, and we'll find event ID. That event ID is unique to every event, remember. So we'll make sure that we see that. And then we can, when it loads here, we can add that as a value. So if we go and we find that, we can add that here. And we can see the values here. So what we can do is we can just call this now shots. And we've got that there. So what we can do is we can obviously make this a bit bigger, but the main thing we're going to do here is we're going to copy this again. Place this over this side. I'll just resize this to be the same. Here. And then again, what we need to do is we'll go back into our selection pane here, click our team selection, make sure it's not filtering either of these, hide that again, click on our visual, and then we need to just add our home and away column again. So this side, as we've already said, is 1, and this side is home and away, and basic, and 2. So there you can see the number of shots taken. The one thing you don't see here is we've filtered out the, we've filtered out the shots that are not, the events that are not shots, but as you can see, there's a missing outcome name here. So what we could do is, let's see what happens when we go if is blank. Give me 0, or otherwise give me that count. So we can see in this scenario, this one doesn't actually help. So what we could try and do is see as if it equals 0, because it might filter it out if it's 0, and it should hopefully. It's not going to today, but that's okay. We could work on that so that we can get our values to appear even if the outcome name doesn't appear in or isn't visible within that data set for that team. But what we're going to do here is we'll just leave it for now, and we'll go outcome name as our column header. Oops, not nay, but name. And then we can usually, when they've got the same data or visual type, you can select both and then change the formatting option. So let's change the text to 12. We'll make it a little bit bigger. We'll do the same for our row headers. We'll make them 12 and semi-bold. And then the last thing is our column header. Again, we'll make it 12 and semi-bold. Last thing we need to do is just make our text white rather than that pinky color. Same here for our values. And there we should be okay. So then now we just need to resize our visuals slightly, oops, to make sure they fit, and there we go. So now you can see a breakdown of the shots that were taken. Let's make sure that we just align our values slightly. So we'll go field formatting, shots, and we want that to be central rather than off to one side. Make sure that it applies to our total, and we're good. So now we can see XG, and we can also see shots here. One of the other values that I have in my data set that I've already created is an XG per shot. So let's see what happens if we add this in here. And we can see that it's not getting filtered by the type, because we have to look through our value here, and we can see that we are just doing this by a total of shots. If we were to rework this, we could show that on the side there, but what we can do is let's just for now, let's add this up the top here, and we will just go XG per shot here. And oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let's add that card back in. There we go. Let's just copy this one over to here. And then what we need to do again is just make sure that our team selection is not impacting these. And then make sure that we've got home and away. Then this one, we know we need it to be away rather than home. So there we go. So we've got an XG per shot, and then some outcomes here. One of the other things you could add on to here is we can look at a few other things in terms of like XG over time or shots over time, shots on target or goals, and kind of see how you compare by game. So if we go back to our report previously, we do have our XG per shot by match day already, as you can see here. So for example, if we take this and we bring it over to our shooting analysis, we can change the size of it here. But one of the biggest things we need to do is just make sure that our match is not impacting this. So there we go. And then what we can do is we can see if this will apply to our away team as well. So let's do that. And we'll go team selection. And then what we need to do again is do our home away. So let's drag that on. And we want this to be only our away team. So let's do 2. What we can see is that that hasn't filtered it there. And if we were to look at our measure for XG per shot, we can see that within our filter, we are trying to find a minimum or a min value for the event's team.name. Let's bring that up higher. and we'll just call it team here. And let's see if this will help us to adjust our value or get our correct value out. Team.name, and just like that. So let's change this one here to team instead. As you can see, it's not filtering correctly to what we would want. So what we can do is we can work on that one to figure it out as we go. So let's just remove that for now, and what we'll do is we'll work on our home team. So we've already got our shot per match, and let's actually just move this to one side slightly. We can move this table down. Let's try and, it's a bit fiddly sometimes. Let's just place it there. There we go. And what you could do is you could go and say we've got XG here, XG per shot for the game, and let's put that one there. What we can do with these two cards is change the size of our data label to 20, make it semi-bold, remove the category, and let's add a title to both of them. So this would be total XG. Let's align it in the middle. And let's make this bold here, and then this one would be XG per shot. Again, centralize it, bold it. Let's see what height this is. We can do that by looking in general, and we can see it's 71. Let's do the same thing here. So now we can have that one top and one bottom. If we were to just go and copy all of these, we could do something similar up here. Where we can go back to our selection, make sure our match selector is not there. And then what we could do is let's just count the IDs that we had. So where's our shot values? Metric. Oops, I need to make sure I'm clicking on the correct one. So here, let's change that to shot values. Let's make sure that we are only including shots. So let's go shot outcome.name again here. Let's go select all and make sure that NA does not appear. And then you can see shots per match. So let's change the title. And you can kind of see that on average there, if we were to add an average, let's see if we can, we can't. But if on average, we can do it actually with a formulated value here, but we're not going to do it for this current video. You'd be able to see that your average is probably somewhere in that 10, 11 sort of range. And then what you could do here is let's do the same thing, add our shot value here, and make sure that we filter to our shot outcome names for 12, and then here we could put the same thing, but we could have like shots on target, shot values, outcome name. Oops. And let's say if we were including obviously goals, and saved as our two values, you would see that we've got 6 on target. So it's quite easy to see there. And what we can do is at a later date, or even now, we could do this quite easily for these two, but we'll create the opposition view as well. So you could see against us, or sorry, not against us, but in comparison to the team on the day, this is how they perform over time. And you'd be able to see, okay, are we doing better or worse than our opposition? Or have we restricted them to something less than what they would typically do? Which is probably your better way of looking at it. Let me just try and move this over a bit. Okay. So I'll clean this up in the next video. And for now, I'm just going to change these titles. So shots and total shots on target. Oh, let's just go shots on target rather than total shots on target. So there are our two values. And as you can see, you're on the way to creating like a way of viewing your match performance against other matches, viewing where your shots were taken and being able to see, I guess, the probability of your scoring, if that's better or worse than previously from a per shot perspective, and then being able to compare your performance to the opposition, and if you were to restrict them to something less than what they're previously done, or if it's about the same as what they normally do. So I hope you guys found this video useful, and if you did, please make sure you hit like and subscribe below. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time, where we will continue to power performance through data. Thank you.